Good afternoon. You are here for a Google Tips and Tricks session. I'm going to set my clock for just the amount of time I need. I'm going to do let's do 50 minutes because I'm going to be right on time. Session 3, keep, calendar, and mail. This is a fun one. Those of you that don't know me, Bond, Virginia Bond like James, Virginia like the States. And it is a sunny day in Malone, New York. Thank you. After spending 70 degrees last Sunday in Albany, and then like that crazy snowstorm that we had Wednesday afternoon, that was insane. It is beautiful here in the North Country, so I'm ready for spring. If I got a spring ahead, I'm ready for spring. All right, today's session doesn't change from last week's session. Excuse me, I'm having a hiccup. Walk away to 4 to 5 tips to make your work life more efficient. I feel like you guys, I can see your heads nod as we're kind of working our way through these so that I know that it's happening. So today we're going to work in 3 pieces. It's just about the same amount of components, tips, tricks. So keep, calendar, and Gmail. All right, so the first one is Google Keep. How many of you actually use Google Keep and know what it is, right? Okay, well, Denise, you're my favorite. I'm just going to say that from now on. Oh, Cynthia, there you go, for groceries. Yep, me too, me too. I use it for groceries as well. So address for Keep is keep.google.com, because quite honestly, all of the Google apps are .google.com. So what is Google Keep? Post-its on steroids. Now, I even got my little Post-it tray ready for you here. So here, my friends, is like 1/4 of my Post-its. I'm a teacher, you can tell, because I have a thing for Post-its and colors and sizes. Especially these are like my favorite. I have them in every color known to man. And I love Post-its, and I use them everywhere, even so, you know, now that I have this, these are digital Post-its. So Keep is digital Post-its. It's just Post-its on steroids. What I can do with them is I can color code them. And I can do all these kind of fun things in here, all these different things that I can do with them. You can see I have lots of them, many, many, many of them. You go to Keep and you just start taking a note. You take a note. So I'm just going to make one right here. Okay, past attendances. And I'm just going to make it, I have a little chart that I'm going to show you what that is, how to do those, right? So I color code them, and I can add these things called labels to them. So these labels are things that I have built that makes me more organized. Post-its are great, but I'll tell you what, sometimes I leave the wrong Post-its where I want it, so it doesn't always work for me. So one of the things that I need to do is create labels, ways that I can file these systems. So I created all of these things here are labels, and obviously I have a lot of labels. Hello, Donnelly. So I have made Keep work for me. So all I need to do is take a note. So let's say I'm going to say, buy this for Becca, right? That's my daughter. And I take a little note. She did need something for her car. What do you think I can remember for her car? If I don't have a label, I can create one. I can click the little plus sign and I can add a label. But if I don't have one, so if I wanted it to be Becca, right, I can actually create it on the fly. So I'm going to make this and I'm going to delete it because I really don't need one that says something for her car. You can see these are all the ones that I have. Why do I have so many? Well, this started a long, long time ago when I first came to NARIC, and I found that these were not working for me anymore. My bookmarks, because I would bookmark something and then I would put it somewhere and I would never look at it again, right? So what I started to do was I started to use Google Keep, and I started at a pretty low level. And then I started to add more and more to it, and it got hard to use. And then I started to make these labels. So I've made these specific labels that I use all the time. I have some big ones and then I have some small ones. So what I like about it is just like your email, I can cross label. So like this one, let me find one that's good right here. So this is one that I have that I did with Google, right? And I can edit it by just clicking on it. And I think I have a Jamboard. So I'm going to add a label in here. I'm going to change my label. Let's see if Jamboard's in here. There we go, Google Jamboards. So now I have two labels on it. See, 1, 2. And what I can do is I can cross label things. And I'm going to archive it, which I'll explain in a minute. Archive is like, you know, your filing cabinet around the corner, out of sight, out of mind, right? But when I do that, it comes over here into my list of things. So when I go to Google Jamboards, there is that Jamboard right there, but it also sits right here in Google. So I can cross file things, and I love that. That is awesome for me because I'm able to see things in multiple places, and it doesn't always have to be out where I need it. Some things are, but not all things. So think of some big things that you can use. A couple big ones that I use a lot of. I made a list of the icons. So I just made one that is all the icons I use all the time when I'm training. So like I need pictures of certain things. So think about that for your classroom. What are some icons that you use a lot? So if I use it as an icon, I just save it and then I have it. I also have an email template one right here. They're color coded to go with the software that I use because I have to use Outlook. I can't keep, there is a way to do an Outlook template. I know somebody's going to tell me that. It's just, I hate Outlook templates. So what I do is I just copy the thing in here and then copy it into an email. It's really easy. There's certain emails that I use over and over again. They're color coded. My front line is purple. My some posting, my model school stuff is orange. These used to be blue. I took the blue ones out because I was using them too often. And then my green stuff is iReady, right? It's color coded, so it's easy for me to find. So if you have certain ones that you use all the time, that's another really good idea. So what did I say was the third one? Oh, articles to read. This is one I really like because I might find an article and I'm like, oh, I want to read that. But I don't have time to read it now. So I'll put them in here and you'll see if it's been archived, I've read it. Okay. I've read it already. And these are two new ones that I just added. So what I can do is when I click on it like this, I can read it. And actually I have the extension. I'm going to show you that too. I can come up here. I can just take notes right up in here. I could take the notes in here, which I love. So all that stuff stays together as well for me. Super, super easy for me to use. And I can add collaborators to them. So if I found something I really liked and I wanted to share it with a colleague, I could share it with a colleague, or I could share it with a friend, or I could share it with one of my kids, whatever I needed to. So that's a really simple thing to do. Okay, next one. So the save to keep extension. So it's right here. So if I wanted that, what would I be able to do? I would go to the web store. You've never been to the web store. There it is. And it's just called Save to Keep. I'd look for it. It's right here. And I was a doofus that I didn't add it in there. So I will do that for you right now. Save to Keep extension. And I will just add in the link. There you go. Right. What I like is I do not think you can change the margins, the paper size and the color size. Well, I don't know what I was thinking there, right? What I like about it is I can be out on a web page. So let's say I go to CNN. I know this not, let's say there's something in here I want to really use with my kids, right? I see something that I want to use it. Okay, here. Baby pandas take their first steps outside. Boy, that'd be nice to have some nice news, right? And I want to use it. I don't know about you guys, but if you come back sometimes to web pages, they're like, everything's gone, right? You can't find it. I can just click on it right here and it saves it. All done. All done. So it's a really nice way to be able to save things. And then when I go back to Google Keep, it's going to be sitting right in there for me to find. It's going to be back in my main set out of my articles, and there it is right there. So I could have a set of videos that I save for my students. You could organize them however you want, or just have a set of videos. It's a very simple way to do that from your Omnibar, your extension bar. Google Keep is free. It is part of the core. So it's covered under a DPA, so you don't have to worry about data privacy agreement. So just to have another layer, I use category tabs for the Google Keep. So these are the category tabs right here. And when you come down to the bottom, they install down here. So the extension actually installs, and that's how you can customize it yourself. So you can make your own, so you have kind of this color header across the top that allows you to be even more organized. So think about your classes. Remember we talked about using colors before in like your grade levels or your class periods or your subject areas. You can do that right in here. Or if you're a secretary, you can use them in your buildings, right? You could have each building have their own color code, and you could attach that color to them, and you would use this and you could organize that up there, and then you'd have them color coded up there. So basically I can have something color coded and add something else to it as well, like a label on top of that. So you can basically 3-layer, 4-layer organize things. As you can tell, I'm a little crazy when it comes to organization. A little would be an understatement, okay? Also, archiving. I love archiving. Like I showed you before was my icon. So let me archive a couple things in here, okay? So I'm going to archive this. There's a model schools note, and I'm going to archive this, another one. And I'm also going to do this one right here. I'm going to archive them all. So then when I'm looking for model schools, I can just type in model schools. And it says, ooh, you want model schools? There they all are, right? There's anything that I have tagged for model schools will come up that way, or I can come into the label over here and it pulls them all up. Now, what does this make me think of? Pinterest, right? It's got a very kind of a Pinteresty feel, except it's your stuff that you organize how you want it. So think about that for students though, how easily they could organize themselves this way using colors and notes, right? This way they could put their notes on, they could organize things up. Some kids are great at it, some kids are not great at it. This one is a life skill. Everything we're doing today is a life skill that kids need when they leave high school to go to college. Organization is the one thing they always say is the piece they don't have in place. Time management and organization, this helps in that. Okay, so what else is in here? Wow, if I open up a little note like this, and I'm going to take that label off because I don't want to have a model schools label on this one. I can just take that. I'm going to find it and uncheck it, and it'll go away. I can go to the 3 lines and I can add a drawing. So this typically blows people out of the water usually when they're like, you can what? You can draw in here too. So if you have little people, right? If you have little people that like to draw, boy, it would be really nice if I had a touchpad. I'm just using a mouse. I don't have a touchpad on this, but we're going to make a pretty little flower here. We're going to make ourselves a little aster. Little, not so pretty aster, but a little aster. Okay. I'm going to put some green on there. And then you notice you have all these different widths of pens and pencils that you can use. Thank you very much. And I'm going to come off that, bring that down here. So depending on the grade level you're teaching, your students can use this to draw. Kindergarten, anybody that used to do kid pecs with little people, they used to be able to draw and then they used to be able to type. So what it does is it comes in this way. It creates a thumbnail of my picture, and then I can type in it. I can if I don't super click it too fast. That was my fault. Sorry. Yep. Got a mind of its own today. You can come down in here and you can type in it. So students can draw in that section, master, and they could take notes in here. So they can take notes right within anything they draw. It's a good way also to communicate with parents. So I think that might be one of my sessions. So that drawing feature is really good for littles. And I know people think that kids can't draw with a mouse. Trust me, kids can draw with a mouse, right? They really can. It takes a little bit of practice. They do get better with it. And for my littles, and when I say littles, I mean like K1, 2s, it's a great way to work on their mouse skills. It really is. It does improve them a lot. Next one, pin to the top. Any note that you have, you can pin to the top. So I'm going to take, we're going to take this one. This is Miss Amelia was here last year, right? And there's a little pin on it right here in the top corner. I'm going to show you how to get those pictures in there. And I can pin that right in here. And then it's going to do is it's going to take that note and it's going to put it all the way in the top, and it's going to be tucked on the top. So anything that I might be doing all the time, I can keep pinned on the top. Things like an agenda for something I'm working on. So let's take this into like adults working in a school setting with a co-teacher. Denise, you're back. So when we talk about maybe in a co-teacher setting or two people together that are working in the same, so it doesn't have to be a co-teaching setting, but sometimes you have to share information, and that sharing of documents can sometimes just get overwhelmed. This is a way to push out plans maybe, or to push out a thought process through a day, or somebody's going to be out. You can push this all out. It's a little different than a Google document. All right, I'm going to show you what I mean in a couple minutes. So we can pin them on the top. So Cynthia, who has a shopping list? Take a note, shopping list. So most people, if you have an Android, Google Keep is on your phone, probably. If you have an iPhone, you can get it for free. There's an app for that, and you can do shopping. So you can take your notes in here and you can do a to-do list, okay? You can show the check boxes. So I know that I need to pick up my meds, okay? And I have to pick up my, yep, there it is. I'm glad it knows how to spell glucosamine because I don't know how, right? So those two things I got to pick up today when I go. That is going to show up on my phone, on my app, because I have the two things linked together, right? This is my personal account. So think about this in a teaching setting, and I'm going to go find one that I want to show you. Right? So here's one in a teaching setting. So you're a co-teacher and you're working, and you and your TA or your co-teacher both grade papers. The problem is it's hard to keep up with who's grading what for what, especially if it's online. Some teachers are still using Google Classroom and grading online. So you can make a template of all your students. Here's my list of students. And what you can do is as you grade their papers, you would cross them off, right? Like this. I did write directions that I did not follow. Be sure to make a copy and add a date before using. And you can undo, by the way, like that. So you would click on the three dots, make a copy. It's going to make that copy. It's going to come down in here right there. And then I could come in and just edit it. I'd come in and this would be March 14th, 2022. And I don't know, it was Pi Day. So we're going to do Pi Day today, right? So that's today's assignment. So my two teachers would be shared on it, and they would start to cross off who graded what. It's a nice way to easily keep track of it, because even if you do it paper-wise, you can't do it paper-wise with one piece of paper, two people, but you can this way. And it's really easy on the phone. The only problem I have right now with it is that you have to put the check boxes on a computer. You can't put them on the phone, right? That's the one problem. So once they're on, the check boxes are added here. They don't show up on your phone unless you do them on your phone, unless you put them on the computer. So that's kind of a problem. Okay, Keep is embedded into Slides and Docs. So I'll show you what I mean. All the way over here, see this little sidebar? We've seen this before, right? And right there, ooh, light bulb, ooh, bing. I'm going to click on it. And look what's going to pop up. Oh, look it. We've seen these things before, right? There's my co-teaching, right? There's my Aster. That's what I want. I'm going to insert the Aster look at that. Anything I have in a keep can be added. I'm gonna take that out and do that process again one more time. So let's say I'm gonna put my shopping list in. Oh, because that's fun to have here. There's my shopping list, right? So you can bring it in that. So you can have a Google Keep that multiple people work on. As long as you're a contributor to it, right? You have the ability to work on it. You can access it to pull it in. That's really helpful. So it's good if you're working on a to-do list with your team about what you have to get done before your next open house or your next parent-teacher conference or your next staff meeting, or you have administrators who have certain things they have to get done and you have a checklist and they don't like to do things. We just publicly shame them into getting it done. Sorry, did I say that all out loud? Hey, listen, that's the reality. Sometimes they've got to be called out on what they need to get done or not get done. And this is a nice way to take that checklist and kind of pull it in. So slides and docs, keeps can be imported. So basically you can bring a keep into a slide or doc. In mail or sheets, you could take in from mail or sheets and put it into keep. Okay. And I'm going to show you that when we go back out in a little bit into mail. All right, next one. So my last one is that there's an app for that, right? So I'm going to go here. I'm going to show you what I like about this app. So the app does a couple things that the blah, 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 that the phone app does something that doesn't do. So for one thing that it does do, and I'm going to do it right in here, I'm going to just call it 314. I'm going to add to it, and you can see I'm going to do two things with it. I'm going to name it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a photo of you guys, okay? You're perfect in every way, just like that. And I'm going to say use the photo. And I'm going to show you, that's the first thing. You're going to watch it when it comes back out. And then I'm going to go into it. I'm going to go back into it. And I'm also going to go in and use the mic. I'm going to use the mic because it's going to allow me to use speech to text. And it's going to add speech to text into things pretty quickly. All right, see that? So it has a speech to text component built right into it. When I said this is a life skill, I'm not lying. Like for your students with disabilities or any students, to give students a speech to text app that is free, that is easy to use, that's tied to their Google components is really great. And so Google Keep is free. It works on an iPhone. It works on all of the Androids. It of course works on the Pixel since that's the Google phone, right? But so the really cool part of this is the picture. The picture is actually better than the text. And the reason for that is that when you add, it's interesting that I have stress right here, by the way. I have stress relief right next to my, sorry. When you take a picture through Google Keep, it goes to Google Keep, not to your photo roll. Let me see that where your camera roll, okay? When you take a picture in Google Keep, through Google Keep, the photo is saved to Google Keep, not to your camera roll. So all my classroom teachers who have lots of pictures of their classroom, you little creeps, on your own personal phone, just kidding, because we all do it. What it does is it saves your own personal photo space, right? So you don't have to have those photos sitting on your camera phone. And you do have to have it linked to your Google account or to a Google account. Now, if your school doesn't let you use it, here's a hack. You didn't hear me say this, but it's going to be recorded, so who cares? You can have your personal account in there, can put it into Google Keep, and then you can collaborate that over into your work account. As in, you don't want to put your work email or your work account onto your phone. You can do it that way. So all you would do is you would come down here and I would share this to my other account, just like that. Okay. See how easy that is? I mean, it's easy. And then it's just shared and you can see because I get a little circle here. It's a great way. The checkboxes are a great way to work with people to share tasks. Google Keep does a lot. It really does, and it's a pretty strong tool. So, knowing that, which one of those little tidbits that I just gave you was your favorite tip out of there? Okay. Cynthia, by the way, is a good job, because quite honestly, I always tell people use it first as a personal human, and then going backwards to use as a personal human, right? And then going back and using it in your classroom. Saving icons to reuse. Susan, that I don't know why that took me so long to figure out on my own, but that's huge. And for me, it's a huge time saver. I'm like, oh, I need the greatest, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I have them. And people are like, how do you get them so fast? I'm like, oh, I've saved them all in Google Keep. And yeah, oh, that organization is awesome, right? It's just, if you're another person that's into that, like, and likes it, it does take a little bit to get used to. Shopping, by the way, shopping. Cynthia, if you didn't know this, why did I start doing this? Because I'm in charge of the shopping list at our house, but my husband gets bored because some days he's an assistant funeral director and a minister, but some days he will be done at 11 o'clock because he won't have a funeral. He won't have anything to do in the funeral home. So he gets done early and he decides to go shopping, except I'm the keeper of the list. So he goes shopping and comes home with all of the things that I don't really need, or we don't really need. So what you can do is you can email the list to them. And I love that, because then he will buy what he actually needs to get, not what he thinks we need to get. I shouldn't really complain. He does do all the he does do all the cooking. He does shop and cook. So I'm pretty, yeah. We've been married 30 years. He's not dead yet. I guess I'll keep him. Okay. Calendar next. All right. How many of you get Google Calendar? Do you use Google Calendar? How many of you are forced to use Google Calendar, right? Right? Okay. Me too. So I'm not forced. I love Google Calendar. I love what it'll do, because as you can see, I use it a lot, right? And I don't know if you guys have seen in my, let me see, you can book me. You can, will it come up? Yep, nope, right there. I'm gonna have to find it because I don't know where it is. In my signature line, I have a you can book me link, right? And in, so here's a little, I'll show you this. It's not, it can be free. I'm using a free piece of it. Show you this, because this is nice to see that it can be done. So I knew there was a simple address for this, but I couldn't remember what it was. So if you get a link from me that says, hey, would you like to book a time with me? This is what it looks like. And you can see, like, this is what I have available for the next week. So somebody wants to book a time. I just had somebody book a time for me in October, right? Pushed out time for me in October. So if somebody wants to schedule a time with me, this link is in my my signature line. People can come in, and what it does is it automatically books into my calendar. So there are apps that work like that. That one's free. I started using that during the pandemic, and it has been life changing for me, because I don't have to play email tag with anyone. Because as soon as someone books, I get an email. And I can set it up, I can set up the meeting, whatever I need. All right, so first of all, color code everything, okay? I know you guys are probably sick of me. They're like, girl, shut up about color coding. Listen, it makes life so much easier when I'm going to come into today, and I'm just going to go day, right? So this is today. Well, no, this is a couple days ago. We're going to go into today. So here's my day today, all right? Everything has a color attached to it, right? Now, it doesn't matter if you know the colors, I know the colors, right? So purple, a light blue is a NARC kind of cleanup thing. Green is my iReady. Orange is anything to do with model schools. Bright purple has to do, or purple has to do with frontline. So you can see it's very specific. My meetings are green, but then it just really helps me. And you can see I have tech integration. Also, colors change. You can see if I lay these side by side. Anytime the session is over, the color changes. Anytime it is, blah, blah, blah. Anytime it's solid. So pastel colors, it's over. Solids, bright colors, it's happening right now. I've also signed up for some other calendars across the top. So color code, doesn't matter what your color code system is, but your color code is based off your settings within your calendar. So your calendar is the top one over here under my calendar, has your name on it. You cannot, well, you could, do not delete that calendar. Don't do it. Trust me. It's like deleting your Google Classroom folder in your drive. If you do it, don't do it. Okay, I can't remember the rest of the song. Okay, but trust me, if you do, you can't delete it, but you can wipe it out. And I've seen people do that and they will lose any future appointments they have in it. You cannot retrieve it. It's unretrievable. Okay, it's like a badly trained dog. But right here in these 3 dots, you get to pick the default color for your calendar. So if you don't like the color school gave you, pick what color you want. Like that is periwinkle. That's my favorite color. So that's why that's my default color. So I know that when stuff ends up default purple on my calendar, I haven't changed the color of it, that I need to go in and do that. But you get to pick what that is. You also get to turn calendars on and off like this, however you want, right? So I love that calendar. That's great. Wouldn't that be awesome? But that's not my reality, right? So you can turn them on and off as you see fit. Google Calendars will not necessarily default into your calendar. You will have to make them come on. And on top of that, Google Classroom calendars. Google Classroom calendars will not automatically delete unless you do so yourself. It is a manual. Even if you archive the classroom, you manually must remove it. Like this one right here, all you would do is come in here and hide from the list, and then it would be gone. Okay, so that's just a little tidbit to have in your mind. Okay, add agendas to sessions. This typically usually blows people's minds. So right here, model schools training, right? Here's our model schools session for today. I'm going to grab the link. I will grab the link, copy it, and I am going to take it into this session right here, and I am going to just add the link. So that's one way to do it. You also can attach a document right in here, right? Look at, I can pick from my Google Drive. I may not wait for this to happen because it gets a little wonky sometimes. Oh, it went really quickly, right? I can do that. And I'm going to save it. Now, why would I do that? What is the benefit of that? I'll show you what the benefit of that is. Anybody that deals with, when I click on this, see that? It sits right there. Anybody deals with people who don't attend meetings and can't find agendas, this is perfect for you, right? I don't know what the agenda is. Where is it saved? I don't know where it is. We used to have, I'm not going to call him by name, but his name was Bill. I'm not going to call him by last name. I should, because that would be funny. He never knew when our meetings were, and he never came to a meeting with an agenda in hand, right? So this is a way to attach the agenda right to it. Now, this is a slide deck, but it could be a document. Remember when we talked about documents before, and you could use the headings to put the new dates on it? So you could have a document for an agenda for the whole year, and you could attach it into it every time you have the meeting, right? Oof. If you have a reoccurring meeting and you attach an agenda to it, the agenda stays with it. On top of that, what's even better is I just have to come into my calendar, click on that, and it opens it right up. So it's kind of mind-boggling and life-changing once you do it the first couple times and you're like, oh, wow. Like, I don't have to look for anything ever again. So I love that. It just makes things so much easier. All right, next thing. Add in multiple notifications. So we're going to make a little event here. So you'll see in here, I have on this one, 2 notifications. If you are the creator of the agenda, or if you're the creator of the event or the meeting or whatever, you are the person who puts those notifications in there. You can have up to 5. See, hear that? Up to 5. So if you're making a staff meeting, so, and Susan, I don't know why I think you're a secretary, but my head has it in my head that you're a are you a secretary? No, she's shaking her head. No.
No, I run the computer lab.
All right, well, this works for you, right?
At a high school.
Right, so anybody that show this to your secretaries, will freaking love it. So, because they always have staff that don't come to meetings because they don't know they're going to happen, right? So you can do an email 1 day before, or you could do an email 7 days before. Then you can do it 1 day before, and then you could do a pop-up 10 minutes before the meeting. So the notifications are the mini pop-ups on the bottom of your screen. You can have up to 5. Okay, so you know what I have, right? You can see I have as a default set within my settings on my calendar. Every time I make a calendar event, I have a 10-minute notification. I get a ping right before I'm supposed to go in, and I get an email 1 day before. This becomes annoying, but I have it set to a certain part of my email, so it's okay, and then I just delete them all. But man, it saved me a couple times because I'd be like, oh, forgot about that one, right? So it's always good to have those. So it's a very simple thing. You're in charge of it. So even think about your kids, right? You could copy and paste from your Google Doc of your class students into the guests, make them, our final presentations will be on whatever day. You give them the week alert, the 2-week alert, and the 1-day alert, right? 2 week, 1 week, 1. So that they can remember how to do that, because that will be helpful in getting them organized to get their pieces done. For some kids, they'll still be doing it on like the last day before it's due. Okay, so delete your old classroom calendars, right? So classroom calendars, once they're turned on, they're in there. You have to go in and manually hide them and or delete them. So when I come into my calendars like this, you will see down here at the bottom, right? I have lots and lots of calendars, but I'm going to come up here and look at this. When I come in and go into my settings and sharing, and as soon as I do that, I always get nervous that they're not in here. They are in here. They're listed down here at the bottom. See this? And I have them hidden. So hiding them will do it. You can also delete them. But this calendar kind of guides everything. You also can share your public calendar with multiple people. You can see right here that my calendar is shared to both of my kids, right? So my 2 adult children, this is from when they were in college. They had it so they knew where I was. And even now, one of them pulled up my calendar the other day. I was in Albany Wednesday, and she said, hey, I see you're still in Albany. Can I come stay with you? Because I don't want to drive home to Burlington. I was like, yes, right? So they know they have this resource that they can get to pretty quickly. My other ones are like, hey, my kids are like, oh, I'm just going to come, borrow food from you. Of course you are, because I'm at home. Okay, so sharing your calendar to yourself. This looks a little weird, right? Can you see this over here? Here's my event, and I'm in 3 times. Those are 3 different emails. Now, here's why. I have an Outlook account. So I use my Google Calendar just to let people schedule into, but it doesn't feed to my Outlook. So I make it feed to my Outlook. So my Outlook is this one right here, down here, and this one is my other account. I have a Sam and River account. I mean, I have 25 different Google accounts, so I use 3 pretty regularly. So if it happens to be an event that's for tech integration, I just send it to that calendar as well so the district can see it as well, and I don't have to do that double mapping. So learning that process is not that hard. So you come into an event like this, and all I would do would be just add in those email addresses. You could default them in like that, and then I have them in like that. See? Pretty easy. Save it, and it's going to send it to them. I don't want that. Save. Do you want to do, nope, just this event only? And yes, I'm going to send. There you go. Pretty easy. So you can send those things back and forth. I like that because for me, that allows me to put big things on my calendars that I know have to be there. Next one. Change your view. Okay, this is a big one. Changing your view. Okay, I'm going to go here. You've seen me toggle this way multiple times, right? I come up here. So this is the default. Default is month. Guys, you know me. I don't like to go up there. I can also do just a W, takes me to week, and D takes me to day, right? And then you have a couple others that are in here. Y for year. Cancel. I think Y is year. Yep, in case you have to do any big booking, which is helpful. I also have schedule view. So the schedule view is really nice if you want to print something. If you want to print something for your desk or stick it in your plan book so you have that in there, that's a nice view to have as well. And then I have X. So the default down here for most people is 4 days. I went into my settings and I changed it to 7. Okay. So I can see 7 days out. So I can always see 7 days out. I don't use this view very often, but it is nice to have. You can default that to whatever you want. If you want it to be a 5-day work week and you only have it open, right, 5 days at a time, that's good. But I hardly ever think like that. I'm always looking 7 days in advance. I typically stay in week. I only go into day when I get a little bit more granular. Okay. All right. So out of those, which one was your favorite calendar? I got 15 minutes left. Your favorite calendar tip. Oh yeah, the agenda is always a nice one. I like that one too. Yeah, I blew people away. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love putting things into my calendar. Just makes things easier. What can be nice about that, Donnelly and to Denise? Think about parent conferences. I feel like we do a lot more virtual now, and if we put it all into a calendar, it makes things easier. Sharing stuff like that to your kids too can be helpful, like your students, and they can do it for themselves. So like keep teaching them to be self-sufficient, right? They could add it right in. Google Calendar does that too. If they are using the Google Calendar piece to feed to their calendar, they can do that as well. It'd be very helpful. Okay, next one is mail. All right, so you're going to see my personal mail. So I am pre-warning you only because it has seemed as though in the past I have had some mail issues. Not M-A-I-L, but M-A-L-E issues. So I'm just telling you this in case they happen to pop up. I try to clean them before I come to the session, but it doesn't always work. So, all right. So this is my email. And it's pretty well cleaned. It's not great, but it's better than normal. So first thing, just like our Google Mail, our Google Drive, stop searching for things because there's absolutely no way you can search your Google Mail. All right, I only have one unread email right here. It's basically that, just kind of hanging out. But you have the same functionality within your mail that you have in Google Drive. That almost looks exactly the same, doesn't it, right? So I can look for something. I don't know if Erica Preston has sent me anything. I never look for the word subjects, but I always look for the words has. I'm not going to search what it could be. I'm just going to say search. Ah, she has. Go figure. I guess that was a while ago and I didn't even remember. So I would never be able to find that in the long run. I just wouldn't have a clue where it is. So using that search function makes it a lot easier. And remember, has the words, searches the actual body of the email. So if you happen to get emails from administrators that don't have subject lines, and I see people shaking their head because we know admins do that, right? You can search. You only need one word from the email. You read it once and you can't find it again. you can find it that way. Okay, so that's a real simple way to do that. Okay, next things. Oh, let me show you a way that I do this, Oh, see, I said it again. What are some of the things that I do all the time? I'm going to look for calendar. I'm going to look for everything in my seat right there. There's everything I have right now in there with calendar. I'm going to take them like this and I'm going to uncheck this one. I am going to not keep any of those. So you saw one click, they're all hitting the garbage can. And I'm sure it's going to yell at me. I don't need them all. Basically, those are my one-day notifications that I get about things that are coming in. I just delete them all, right? See how simple that was? I don't even search at them. I know I don't need them, so they're gone. So cleaning does help. All right, cleaning out your inbox. Now, this is going to freak some of you out. Aim for 0 in the inbox, right? Now, I'm going to show you a little trick. I have one. That looks really good, right? It looks really good. You see, I actually have more than one. This all has to do with my view. So I'm going to teach you the tricks of the trade here. It all has to do with my view. If I was not using default and I had priority inbox, it would look like this. Do you see how many emails that is? 15,896. And there really honestly are 15,896 emails in there that I have not read. That's what I do is I use the default view. And what that does, I went to settings and changed that. I get primary, really important. All my social media goes to one place. So like my Twitter and my LinkedIn and my Scooped It and my Google, I don't need this. I delete that once a week. My promotions. So everything like to do with donuts and anything I've ever registered for with this email, they all come in here, right? They all, Ulta, God, I'm like scared now to look in here. My NHL comes in here, right? All social media. My updates will all come into updates. Ooh, so this one is one I have to keep. So this one right here, this just came through. I'm going to take that out. That's got to go into my inbox. So you can see what I did is I took that off there and I am going to put a star on it. It's going to automatically move it to my inbox over here. So that'll be one because I don't want to throw that one out. But you'll see how easy that is for me to kind of move those around, right? And then my forums, this is where the 15,000 emails sit, by the way. This is my Google account. It's a link to my Google Trainer account. And we use this to talk back and forth. There are like 3,000 Google people in here from around the world. And we use this Google forum group to talk. So there's lots of emails in here. So if somebody says, hey, something broke, I can come in and check it out to make sure it didn't break somewhere for someone else. So that's why I have so many. But I feel a lot better just knowing that I have just one, right? This view takes a little bit of getting used to, but I love it because I only have one. Just so we know, I don't care, but changing those settings can really help. Okay, another one. View 100 emails per page. So up here in settings, go to all your settings. And if you've never done this, the default is 50. Ugh, or 25, right? Yuck. Make it 100. I wish it was 1,000. I would rather just scroll down the page instead of having to go after page, but I rarely look, but I have mine defaulted to 100. It just makes more sense, right? Also in there is the undo send. If you've never used that, that can be really helpful. Big one from me, in the same place under your settings is please, for the love of God, create a signature line. So I don't have too many like Denise, I don't know how to say your last name, Denise, but Capice. Am I close?
Capice. It's perfect. It's rhyming. Denise Capice.
Denise Capice. Oh, I love it. It rhymes. Denise Capice. I don't have any other Denise Capices, but I have 3 Scott Smiths, okay, in all my school districts. And I love when they email and they just say, hey, it's Scott. And their emails are, I'm like, are you kidding me? And then they need me to figure out what building they're in. And I'm like, it takes so much time. I hate it. It drives me insane. And quite honestly, if you send me an email and it doesn't have a signature line on it, you go to the bottom of the list because I am not going to probably have the time to figure it out, right? Just create a signature line and have multiples. And all you need to do is have your building and your phone number and a couple other extra things that can be super helpful. And there's like, when are you available for a phone call from a parent? Oh, think about how nice that would be. That's just simple, right? I'm free for phone calls after 2:45. That might be the time. So they're not calling you through the day. Or you can see I have my booking app in there. It's a simple way. You can have more than one email in there. You can also use the like I'm out of the office is also in here. Pretty easy, right? I have a lot of teachers that create a signature line for the summer that just say, I will only be checking email once a week, maybe, right? So that's a super, super easy thing to do as well. Okay, let's keep going here. Great to teach kids how to make that, to have like a professional, right? A grown-up one and then a not so grown-up one. So it's funny because my friends all know that my colleagues, I just sign off with KVB. It's a tilde KVB. I have used that for years since my maiden name was born. So I've been KVB since I was about 11 years old. I've always just used that. So over almost 50 years. So it's just something it's very simple for. So if it's informal, I will just sign KVB. And then I have a formal signature as well. If you don't want it, unsubscribe to it. Okay, so here's an example. I'm going to go back out. So as I'm looking through things, you might decide in your promotions, right? I'm looking at my promotions and, well, we used to have a gap that was right here. We no longer have a gap that's right here. It closed. So I probably don't need the Gap coupons and I rarely shop Gap online. All I would need to do is just click unsubscribe. I'm going to send that to my daughter-in-law. I can click unsubscribe and it will just take me off that list. That is really super helpful to do because there may be things that you signed up for like 10 years ago that you were using and now you're like, oh my God, I do not do that anymore. I don't need that. So get rid of it. Next one, create labels. So quite honestly, you can't have too many labels. Just like Google Keep, you cannot have too many. So how do I get into my labels? I come up here into my settings and they sit right here under labels. So you can see, you can have lots of them, right? I have Becca, Billy, Book Me, Calendar, Crochet, Cupcake. That is my friend Erica, by the way. It's just not me talking about cupcakes, but I call her Cupcakes. This is a conference I always do. I have 5,665 conversations from Google, right? That are all labeled Google. You can see I have lots of them. Now, once you create labels, you can use your filters and blocks addresses to build labels that do things. So here's an example. I've created a rule from my Google that when anything comes in from HMF USA, that's my Kona, my car, it labels it my Kona. It never sends the email to spam. It marks it as important and it puts it in my primary email, right? How do I do that? I come down here and create a new filter. This is the next one, by the way. Creating a new filter. So Susan, for you, working with your students, you might have your 9th graders get one filter called 9th graders. Your 10th graders get another one. Your 11th graders get another one. 12th graders get another one. You can build them by class. You can put certain people in them. So I can build any of these I want, and you can be specific. So I'm going to build one right now from K Virginia Bond, right? When I email them to myself, I'm going to create the filter. And this is what I can do. These are all the things I can do to them. I can have them come in and I can automatically give it a label. I love that, right? So think about your attendance. If you have attendance that your building sends out every day, especially in a high school, every class period you get attendance. What's the most annoying thing about that attendance is that you have to come in and mark it as red. So if it has the words attendance, or if the subject always says attendance, you can do it like this. You can take this out. You can create the filter. You can mark it as red. and then it doesn't gob up your email. You could even archive that stupid thing and send it away so you never ever have to see it. But I would never push anybody to do that. It's never marked as important, right? You could put a label on it, right? I could choose a label, or I could make a new label called attendance. And I'd want to label it for this year, 21-22, and I tell it to create. And then I would also tell it to match the 27 matching conversations. I'd create the filter, and now everything that has the word attendance in it is marked that way. Would I have to tweak out a couple? I sure would. But man, oh man, wouldn't that be nice to get those as they came in the morning, so that 8 that you get tomorrow morning all come in and they're all marked as red. They're all marked as red. You never have to do that again. Oh yes. You only need them when you need them. But then when you need them, you can always search for them, because you can search for them. So we just did creating labels and creating filters. All right. So which one was your favorite? Okay. Which one of those was your favorite? Mail is always overwhelming. Oh yeah. Filters are the bomb. Oh, see, I have a superintendent that I taught her how to do filters, and she made filters for each one of her principals. So when the principal emails come through, they're all labeled with a filter. My kids each have a filter. I wish they'd had filters when they were growing up. I mean, now they're adults, right? But yeah, you can make those filters for anything. So you can see the ones that I have Google. I have some for my kids. I have stuff that I send. Just is so good. It's such a great way to have that done, because Google then does the work for you and you don't have to do it. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. And that's the end of today's session. We got 22 tips. That was pretty good, pretty fast. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm going to go right in and mark your attendance as complete. I'll get things sent out probably a little later tonight. Take my laptop home with me tonight. So once I get the WebEx session back, I will do that. And then you guys know you don't have to do the Google form. So the last one is next week in the Google tips and tricks, and it's going to be Jamboard and drawings. So definitely a little out of a lot of people's comfort zone. I won't have as many tips and tricks in those, because I'm going to do a little bit more of examples in them. So thanks everybody, and hope to see you next week. Have a great week.